Welcome to the Language of Markets live session. It is the 24th. Oh, wow. 24th of July. It's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see everybody. Hey, Edward. When the going gets weird, the weird turns pro. Hunter S. Thompson. Who's Hunter S. Thompson? I'm in a cave. I don't know. Makes sense, though. All right, let's see what we can learn today. It's a fun day. The indexes have been active. The futures have been active. The oil's been active. Currency's not bad. Let's see what we can learn today. I'm going to put some attention on type 1 pressure cookers and make us a reference chart. So we're going to make some reference charts. Type 1, type 2, type 3. And then we're actually going to move on from pressure cookers. All right, we're going to continue it this week. Do a little, a writer for Rolling Stone, thanks. Do a little more research into it, a little more work into it. And then we're going to move on. I want to remind everybody, we were talking about, we had that good question about, is there anything wrong with the 240-minute time frame? Because I'm using 20 minutes or this or that, and no, there's nothing wrong. And a lot has to do with our own personal rhythms. We always have to make sure we're not just trying to imitate too much because it doesn't come off very well. It does take a while to kind of find things that resonate and help along the way. And so you can play with time frames, right? It really does help to find that rhythm that you're in and the market's in it. Everybody's different. That's why we don't do any dogma here. The only dogma I teach is use a stop. That's about it. Use small size. Earn your right to a bigger size. That's the only dogma I teach because that keeps us in the game. Other than that, almost anything goes. We're going to check it all out. So if we're talking about time frames and rhythms, I just want to remind you, we're going to be looking at a lot of different methods. Here, I got a slide here. Hang on, see? Stuff we talked about earlier, right? Swings, gaps, pressure cookers, one line and press. And one of these methods might not jive with you. You don't have to throw them all at the chart at the same time. Actually, one method one or even two mixed, will set you up to relax with the chart. And so everybody's going to be a little bit different. And it takes some playing in each one to see, hey, is this me or is this not me? You don't have to do one thing. All right? Eventually, we want to get to where we're just looking at the chart. But in the meantime, we do want to find things that resonate. And so a time frame can resonate, and a certain method of looking at the chart can resonate. And the beauty about these methods is that they're all price-based, they're all structure-based, and they all have the same principles involved. All right? They're a reference point to view things, to take the intensity and the weirdness out. And each one will train us in certain things. So if one line presses ain't few, sit back and learn. See what you can get out of it. There's a beauty to all this that each one of these structures kind of flows into the other one. So even if one line presses ain't few, if you spend time learning, you'll see how it relates. All right? These might be few. And we're going to add some things to this, including just a flat-out outside bar method. All right? We're going to invent and create all kinds of good stuff. So I just want to always keep that in mind, okay? Because we're going to be applying things like the 3 types of trades to each one of these guys. Or, the principles to each one of these guys. So if you got to sit with me for a while, right? What are flying C's? We'll get to those, right? We'll get to those. It's a median line method. It's a median line method. I got to keep you interested a little bit. It's got a whole thing with several letters involved, and so we'll get to it event, and it spells something out. All right, so it's flying. And so my point is, before you guys get me off track, is that we'll find something, and it's a personal journey. All right, it's a personal journey. Something. Yeah, I'm teasing. I am teasing. Just a little bit. I got to keep a little bit, Gary, right? I got a little bit. I want you guys to find me boring. There's a lot to explore in this. And along the way, we're going to invent some things. And it's all to help us see and get price and figure a way to trade price that matches with us. Because in the end, right, that's what we're after. Some of these things will help us see. Some of these things will help us see. So just a reminder on that. And before we get started, the other thing I wanted to talk about was our practice we set out on Friday. Okay? We set out a practice. And that practice was to just loosen up, pick a few instruments, try some things that maybe you normally wouldn't try, without worrying about 3-to-1, without worrying about this, without worrying about that. Maybe pick something from the press family or the swing family and just have an order waiting and see what happens. Okay? Or let it pull back and see and practice. All right? I want to talk about that a little bit. Maybe we'll use this. Because this could be a practice situation, okay? So we line this guy up live early on, right? Somewhere around here. And I said, where would you guys want to enter? Some people wanted to enter down here for a pop. Phil wanted to enter up here. I wanted to just go with the thing and enter right here. All right, so we also did the CAD yen. At least I did in my personal practice. First of all, does everybody get the practice? It was just to loosen up and try some things. Just maybe have orders waiting at the size of this thing, or have orders waiting at a press. And not worry too much about, tight stops, not worry too much about 3-to-1 and documenting. Just loosen up and practice with this thing. Just have some orders waiting just to learn. Okay, that's going to tie into, and I said you're going to learn something about yourself and you're going to learn something about markets. That's going to tie into what I was trying to do with that. All right, I'm trying to place us all in a certain circumstance that maybe we won't naturally go to in order to learn. And so this is going to tie into, you guys always hear me talk about, let's find the facts, Jack. What's the size of that swing? What's the size of that swing? It's going up till it's not going up. So we talk about this. What's the facts, Jack? And we want to get ourselves in that place where we ask the question, all right, what is it I think should happen, and then what's actually happening? So it's always a good question. How do I think things are supposed to be going, and how is it actually going? And this helps us reset a little bit. No matter what lines we draw, we have some methods with simple swings to say, what are the facts, Jack? And we can always ask ourselves this, right? How do I want it to be, and how is it really? You guys tracking me on that? And we can see that in markets, especially when we're fighting a market. How do I want it to be? I'm trying for reversals. How do I want it to be? I think because I have this this thing should reverse because I have a gap here and because I have a line. And I say, right, how do I want it to be? And then we always want to say, how is it really? And we have some methods. These are good questions to ask ourselves, right? It's going down. It's going down at about, a certain clip. And those two questions are really good to ask ourselves, right? We want this guy to roll over. How is it really? It's making swings this way. You ever catch yourself, right, in that little storytelling environment? And then you make stuff up, and then you back the chart up, and you and you ignore what's actually happening. Boom, boom, because look, Shane said there's a tail. Let's sell the tail. And you ignore that we're actually, continuing in a certain size swings. Yes? Right? And so a couple good questions are, right, how do I want it? And what's really happening? And that helps to set us straight whether we like it or not. I mean, we might pout a little bit because we don't get how we want it to be. Never more than every few trades, right? Okay, so you get where I'm going with that. So it's an important couple questions to ask, right? How do I want it? And what's actually going on? And then, at least if you go against what's actually going on, because, I don't know, I watched this guy last night, and I was like, I could just sell it. Look at that thing press and roll. See, it's just rolling over. And then I say, what's actually there, right? I want to sell something down to here. How is it really? And that's the facts jack. And that can help us tremendously in trading. That way, if I go against the facts, at least I know what I'm doing. All right. Now I'm going to tie what I said into the little exercise we're doing where we just say throw an order here and have it waiting. See, for instance, well, I'm looking at this and it's rolling over. I'm dying to sell this. And this has happened to me for 20 years. I can feel that. Look, it just double topped. It just tried. I can feel that. I can just jump in. This is something personally that's happened to me for at least 20 years. I know this guy's going down, right? I can feel it. But when I look and I say, how is it really? For me to come in here and place an order here as a practice, that impulse feels wrong to get long there when I want to sell that. You guys see what I'm saying? That impulse feels wrong. It's screaming. What are you, an idiot? And it might not even occur to me to buy that. Hence the practice. And this way I can learn a little something. And this is how I learned to perhaps quit selling these for a little blip that gets wiped, and then maybe buying it, even though buying it seems like a stupid thing. See, I can draw lines. I can come up with reasons to sell this. Look, right? There's the gap, there's the gap, there's that, right? There's the big swing. Now I can, and how many of us have done this? And, we got dreams of down here, right? There's a high probability, swings are going down. And we ignore that. And that little thing twitches us, and then I got to reset myself. And so first we want to see those things, and then we want to practice to show us something new. And so we go ahead and against our better judgment, throw an order down here. Right? Instead of trying to be perfect with everything. And then it works, it doesn't work, we learn. We learn something. We learn something along the way about price, about ourselves, about that impulse. The pullback on the last minor red swing helped to frame that action up. Exactly, didn't it? I mean, yeah, but Nate, at the time, we have to admit we're not saying that. We're saying, right, we're making a new story. Helped keep you out of a short, right, Nate? Good. Next step is to get you into a long. No. But it does help keep you out of a short, right? But what I'm really going towards here is that personal insight. And we're all going to have it a little bit different. Because trading will pull us in ways, the markets pull us in ways that create very ineffective impulses. I mean, this is why almost nobody can trade. Because of and then we try to discipline those impulses and beat them with a stick, and that's a hard road. You can do that, right? But it's a hard road. It's a hard road, that pure discipline. So anyways, we want to get a personal insight. Now I want to tie this into one more thing. All right? I want to tie this into one more thing. How is it? How do I want it? And what's actually there? All right? 2 questions. We can always ask ourselves, what do I think, right? How do I want it? I want this. And what's actually going on? Now, we can turn this question on ourselves and really learn something. And this exercise is about setting up a circumstance to do that. So, we all have ideals about trading and ourselves trading. And we all have something, we want that second house. We want that first house. We want a boat. We want this. We want to be this kind of trader. We want to be that kind of trader. We want to, we have an image, right? We want to do it like this. We all have some sort of ideal and hope and image about this and about what we're doing as a trader. And even when we mess up, we kind of don't pay too much attention. And what I'm saying is that can be a big problem. And so to tie this into a personal thing, we can always ask ourselves, right? What am I trying to be and how am I really? And this exercise is going to show you some of that. And there's a funny thing that happens when you quit pretending and holding that image of how you want to be, because it's not real, right? That's the problem. You can't experience something that's imaginary. You can only experience what's going on now. It's not real. I get we want to have a projection and a direction to go to, but something funny happens when we quit trying to be what we're not. There's a freedom that shows up and an opening, and we start to see what we need to do, right? We become present rather than in a fantasy world. There's a freedom that comes from that honesty. It's a little bit of a give up because we all want to be doing something, and we're so close every day, right? And we keep do. And some of us are making it. Some of us can be making it a lot better. A lot of us, are still struggling. But there's something to saying this is where I'm at versus this is where I want to be. And then you can start to see very clearly. And this exercise is to help with that. So you want to see, this is where I'm at. No way I wanted to do this. Boom. And the same thing with this little exercise here that we were doing live, You get to watch yourself. So I entered this one as one of my practices. And as it went up, I could watch myself. Oh, this was stupid. This was that. Why am I leaning on this? And then it pulled back. I should jump out. I should get out. I should have done this. And I get to watch myself going through all this. And normally the teacher doesn't admit to all that because either they're not seeing it or they're lying. But we want to see these things that we do. We don't have to necessarily act on each of these private impulses, but we want to see them. See, I don't act on them all. And it's not just discipline. The more you see them, the less discipline you need. And so you learn something, no matter what you did here, whether you get long, whether you get hit, you learn something about yourself and about markets, one way or the other. And so that's what that practice is about, not in finding a new secret method. So I'll hit on that again. So you guys know what I'm talking about in some sense at least. But there is a freedom into giving up all of the I want to be Superman stuff and seeing where we're actually at, and then realizing you're a little bit crazy. I'm a little bit crazy. Okay, so enough of that. Just wanted to ping you on some of that. So the practice is a circumstance to set some of that up. And just like swings, we have to do that with ourselves, right? Where are we at? Where we want to be, where are we at now? And it matters. Because it takes us out of our little fantasy world and puts us in the reality. The only problem is we might not like where we're at the moment. Yeah, what are you going to do? You're there. You can't be in Tahiti if you ain't in Tahiti. All right, so let's follow up on something. All right, let's switch gears. Let's follow up on something. Here, I want to show how some of the things we're doing and looking at the facts jack and not making up too much stuff, not going too far back. I want to show how some of the things we're doing and that I'm demonstrating live are directly applicable to the next day's trading. So how did we set up this ES? You guys remember we put a thing here, modified shift. So if you go back to Wednesday, you'll see this. And we watched it running, and we followed majors. And so there's just a practice to help us with what is. We followed majors, we followed minors, and we left the session somewhere as put the next major in, right? Or something like that, where we said we'll follow it. You guys remember this? Yeah? All right. So we would set up something like this, and we were following swings. We talked about all sorts of things. We talked about, presses and this, and we were following swings, and we were lining up. And we were also talking a little bit how median lines project a possible channel and a possible rhythm. We were talking rhythms as well. So as price came down, if you were watching, you would be doing the same things and following price. We're going to follow the reaction leg, majors, and we're going to follow the impulse leg, majors. We're going to follow the LSBs, so on and so forth. And so as you watch it come into its rhythm, right, you're following these guys. You're following these guys. You're seeing something change. And it's just projecting a rhythm. And again, it seems stupid to have an order right here. And you can make up stories. You can do what you want, right? You can say, it's a bigger swing, but it's doing what it's doing. And this is how, in trading, we have to learn to surprise ourselves, because if we're not surprising ourselves, then we're just doing the same old thing. And if we're just doing the same old thing, we're getting the same old results. And none of you would be here, because we're looking for, something different than the same old results. So we're looking to improve what we're doing in some way. And some of that is training with structures. Okay, and a lot of it is me pointing to say, hey, look what you're thinking down here. Watch this. All right, so you get a little change. And so now imagine you do something like this. Okay. and you follow it, and you entered off of the LSB. And this is directly from our practice, and this market is just flowing so beautifully. And, you know, naturally you want to put a stop underneath things. That's not a bad stop to do. You look and say, can I get a 3-to-1? Yeah. You know, 11, 12 handles in the ES is a lot of dough. But you can trade the micros here. So does it land perfect? No, it goes straight through. And it bounces and goes down, right? But remember, we're seeing the wave. That's also part of what I'm doing here, is to see the wave. You were doing something in here, weren't you, Grace? We want to see the wave. You took that. Good for you. All right? Thought I saw a chart. Yeah, you took that. Right? See the wave? Did you watch it in here? See, right here you're thinking, I'm stupid. You know? And we can make stories up right here. But, you know, we can just see the wave and trade the wave. You were sleeping, you left your order. There you go. That's one way to do it. And you know what? That's a good step a lot of times. Put your order in and go to sleep. Because I got to tell you, if you were watching it intensely and worried about every dollar, you'd have freaked yourself out right about now. You know, you would have. You'd have freaked yourself out right about now. You'd have said, I know I do that. Everybody does that. Yeah, it takes time learning to watch. You got to step into that as you can. But it's all good learning. But in the meantime, going to sleep is not a bad idea. Put your order and then come back and learn, right? Take baby steps. And so maybe either get ticked out or whatever, could have found a better entry. But, you know, I'd have used something down like this in this guy. And off we go. You took the left side entry, right? So you learned something. You learned something. You learned that it can do funky things. It can do funky things. Yeah. That's good learning. It's not always, oh, I'm in perfectly and it runs, right? It doesn't always happen like that. And so we can also learn, and by the way, this is that little pattern that we don't get an expand from, right? Edward, we were talking about this, right? It's like a second swing back pattern that you don't get an expand from. And sometimes it behooves us to let that break before we take an entry, right? Sometimes. Sometimes if you wait, But that's what that little press structure that doesn't expand, see, it's not really expanding. It's a second swing deal, and it's also a very good marker. So in a perfect world, you wait for this to get beat, and then you enter in a perfect world. All right? And sometimes it does line you up with the perfect world. Sometimes. So as long as we're playing and we're following, see, it went across the line. So what? It went across the line. Draw a sliding parallel. It's still right there. Now, let's just follow our lesson. So if we're looking in swings and presses, I want you guys to see this press. As they press back up through what? These guys. Boom. See, that would be a perfect entry right back down in here now, right? But it doesn't always give that to you. And then the median line is showing us something about the rhythm of this guy. Same with the center. See, it's holding, 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 holding through the center. All right, now, zoom the center. By the way, the zooms are important. Retest the center. Come back down. All right, it's ugly. I'm going to ask you guys that can map a market, what's the truth? What's the ugly truth? What's the truth? And we can start with swings. The majors are up, right? Even though it didn't hit, okay, even though we're not going up at the same speed and we're doing some kind of change in trajectory, which people make a big deal out of, just because it changes trajectory, that's a clue. Just because it comes over here and changes trajectory, that's just a clue. All right? That's not a, we're going to zero. Right? Just because, you throw something up and it comes down, it's a clue. That's all it is. We have a very objective fact we can look at here. Swings are up, period. No matter how the ball is slowing down. And so you look and you watch. It looks like it's rolling over, especially if you go like, now we're up here. Now we're up here. And you got to stick with what are the facts, Jack. So now we're coming into this morning. Now we're coming into this morning. And if you got your head on straight, we're going up like this. We didn't make the line. So what? You know what this could be? It could just be a little shift of frequency. See how that works? So until you understand the lines, don't give them rules. What I'm finding out about this exercise, it trains me not to think, but rather to see. Oh, very nice, Grace. Thinking often gets in the way of clarity. Yes, it is training you to feel a little more than think. All right, sort of connecting mind and body a little bit. Yeah. It's our thinking that can get us in trouble when our thinking isn't functional. There's nothing wrong with functional thinking. Functional thinking is, we're doing this, right? We need to think to do that. And what's the opposite? Self-centered thinking is, what's this mean for me? What is it going to do for me? How is it going to affect me? Me, 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 me. I'm the most important thing in the world. Oh boy, does my thinker protest. Exactly. Our thinker will protest. The way it protests is by sending an impulse. Same impulse you get when you have to pee. Do this. That's how it protests. All right. So we watch. And this is how we can come up with trades. One way or the other. You don't have to use the same lines. I generally don't like to use the same lines. I'm going to come in here and be working swing to swing. Price has a high probability of reaching the median line set. Okay? And this is going to show me about where. That's just another fact. And then I can come in like this and say, right, price has a high probability of reaching the median line set. Price is looking like a sloped coil. Yeah, see this kind of thing, that's going to go into our library, Nate, right? This kind of a sloped coil out of a bottom like this. We're not going to do it today, but that's the kind of thing I want you guys to keep your attention on eventually, because we're going to document these for our library, for our project. It is. It's just a sloped coil as long as it's not a sloped coil, even though it didn't reach its upper line here. See? All it did was it shifted a little bit. That's all. See, it's shifted a little bit, and that happens. So, you know, you just can't say I'm rolling over. It just shifted a little bit, like that. So just because we don't reach our upper line doesn't mean we're going to zero. So we can handle this. When you do understand the lines, we can handle this with things like overshoots and undershoots. Like that. Okay? But to just make the assumption, sometimes it rolls over because, you know, but this isn't a ball in gravity, all right? Up and down are the same on a chart here. This is not gravity. Gravity doesn't all, you know, things aren't going to always come down, right? This isn't actual gravity on a chart. Gravity goes up and down on a chart. So we have to be careful how we're thinking about it. Or just connecting the lows rather than the highs. Yeah. One of the things, Nate, you should learn to see is that, you know, sometimes you just got to grab this multi-pivot line. And sometimes it's very good to skip this one and just go to this one exactly. And it's sort of a bleed through, make it like a multi-pivot line. And, you know, these things will shift. Okay? These things will shift. And so that's current. So hopefully nobody's sitting here begging the ES to roll over because of the economy. And you're just following this. This thing will not give up. Look at it. It's a beauty. And so since this is a slope coil, right, what might happen now? A slope coil is the same thing as a press. Guess what? Remember, our press is just this, and an expansion. It's kind of weird for it to expand up, right? So think about this. This can actually expand up from that. It's hard to imagine, but it can. Or it can expand down. So now you start to get an understanding what a press is. A press is a coil that expands. No different than this. A coil that expands, except that it's sloped. So it has a few different implications in there. It's a coil that expands there. So now we're getting down, you know, what the essence of this thing is. So we see this guy's on a tear. Reminds me of the YM chart trade you did 18 months ago. Oh, yeah, it was just rolling. It was even smoother than that, right? I was doing that same trade every day. All right, so that was the ES, and we can see how these things, truth is truth. It expands when it expands. Now we're up here, you know, not here. Don't get long here, right? It's a dumb idea. Don't do this. So we can map this market from here. But what I did want to show is that our simple methods of only a swing and a press can line us up for a trade the next day, because this was the next day. The current impulse from the major is longer than the previous. Would that be an expansion and too big swing press? Well, that's a good thing to notice. Let's look at this guy. We have a boom here, boom here, boom here. I don't know. It looked like it maybe did a little bit of a smaller impulse here, right? A different animal. Raj? And then a bigger animal here where we happen to be. So let's not add impulse leg into it yet, but I like how you're seeing things. So we're right there by that impulse leg. So that might even mean if you were to draw, it might be drawn like this, right? Skip that. Go to that. All right. So I don't want to get too far off track. Cool. Let's keep practicing. Okay, let's keep practicing. Here's what I watched in the oil today, although it didn't make me happy, but I'm just trying to remember, besides being an entry method, these things are here to teach us. You know, if we're not worried about every little thing, and you got to be careful, Raj, right? You have a good eye. You got to be careful. You see so much. You got to be careful it doesn't interfere. You know, you got to be careful it doesn't interfere. Nate says, oh, did you not short the retest of the press? I tried, Nate. It wouldn't give it to me. I'm going to show you. I tried. So let's watch this oil. It's going up, right? Those are the facts, Jack. It's going up. I can see it. I can even see the swing. It's going up. Hell, I should have been in that swing. It's going up. Tail. It's beating that swing. You can tell by the median line, right? Everybody see a bar level press? Very, very distinct. Everybody see it? And a swing broken. Very, very distinct. So remember, I'm not doing anything all that complicated in this market. I'm looking at swings, and I'm looking at presses to tell me what's what in a market. That's all. That's all I'm doing here. Looking at swings and presses to tell me what's what in a market. So I'm going to review my miss right here and see what I can learn. All right? And this is what I suggest you guys do with your reviews. We have an LSB and we have a big swing broke. We have all of that. Yeah, we have this is bigger than that. Price is expanding. Okay. Where's it going to expand to, right? Not here. Don't sell it here. But you see, this knocks everybody out of the loop here. It does. And so I'm drawing and I'm thinking, yeah, I want to sell this guy. This is a beauty. I want to sell this thing. I just want to have orders up here selling this thing. Didn't even get hit. Didn't even get close to my orders. And so that kind of thing happens. So what I'm going to learn is we got right up to this press, didn't even test it, but we have this little LSB here. And so this was a secondary entry I decided not to take because, you know, in real life, you know, this changes my whole stops and risk and everything. And we don't have to take everything. But I do learn that we have this little change here. It's not really an LSB, but it's a right side. And down we go. So a major turn in the market. And so I'm learning something about these type 1 trades off of presses. A lot of times they look like a V, don't they? So I'm learning something as I go. A lot of times because they have a good and they look like a V and they come screaming back up. Let's do a stop in the CO. Nate's asking about stops. Let's just do it by the book here for a minute. And for those of you using stops, a quick and dirty method, okay? A quick and dirty method is to keep track of your ATRs on a 34, and I keep track of it on a 200, and I pick the biggest one. And a quick and dirty method is to double it, all right? So if we're here around 10, we're going to double it to somewhere around 20, all right? What size? Now, Nate, sometimes in these guys, I got a really good feel. I'll use a bigger stop, right? I'll go beyond this if I can find something I want to get beyond. See, this whole thing was touchy for me, right? I want to get over this, tell you the truth. So I'm thinking, right? See, I want that tail. I can't really get over that tail. I want that tail. I want to get over that tail. You've been using 25 and a little more. But a quick and dirty method is to double it, and that'll give you a decent area. Okay. Sometimes I'll go a little bit more, and then I'll collapse my risk if it goes towards me, if it goes for me, or I'll have to just eat it. We'll have to do a big session on this sometime. My big problem is people get caught up in the exact math of the whole thing, and they think that's going to save them with their trading. It's important we have our risk down, but I don't want to get too anal about the exact math right now. We can do the math, but I'm doubling it, and you know what, Nate? I'm usually, with my doubling on trades these days, I'm going a little more than my doubling, like you mentioned, 25. I'm wanting a little more cushion. So doubling used to be just my absolute max. Okay? And I'm finding I want a little bit more room because I'm pretty on sides with the markets. So I'm finding I want a little bit more room rather than to take less risk. But we'll have to do a whole session and investigate that minus the dogma. So that's what I'm doing. I go to 25. I'm using a little bit more than double these days. Okay, but I do want to get above that tail. Hey, Mike, could you use that tail as an entry? This one up here? Absolutely. I mean, that would be a brilliant entry. So what I'm kind of seeing, Mike, is like this whole thing here. So I was a little bit worried, you know. This whole thing is kind of that big coil. You guys see it? See, every situation is going to be a little different. See that, Mike? And so I'm a little bit worried if I just jump in here, I don't want to get stopped in the middle of this. So I'm watching and waiting, and it left me. That happens. That happens. We don't have to arm wrestle every trade. I'm just happy I was going the right way, because I can choose to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy this. And that wouldn't work out very well for me. And even this one does not give you much in here, although that ain't bad, right? This market's pressing down. They want down. They just freaked everybody out to the upside, and they want down, and they want down in a hurry. Does that answer your question, Mike? That tail, is this the one you're looking at? So these are some of the little nitty-gritty nuts and bolts. I still like this line, so I think we could use this line still as a reference point. And so you can see prices. That's current. So yeah, I would use that tail as an entry for sure. Real quick, but price head, other things. And the point of this was just to see the press. Right? We want to learn to see the press and then learn as we go. We want to learn to see that press over and 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 over again. Swing size analysis, pretty interesting on this market. Looks like it's doing nice relative size swings. First one, the LSB to the high, is the major, and the next one is about half the minor. Yeah, see, that's good, nice flow. The oil's got a nice flow to it. That means there's a lot of people playing, and less games. It's got that nice flow to it. And then when that changes, we see the change. It makes it easier to see the continued behavior and the change in behavior. Continued behavior and change in behavior. Continued behavior is like, your kids do something over and over and over and over again, right? And so you can pretty much plan with that. And the minute your kids go out of pattern, you get alert. Something's up, right? If they quit doing what they were normally doing, you're on high alert. You're like, what the hell did you do? And so the markets are like that. It's continued and change. And we can view in that way. We can view in that way. Nice and easy. All right, I still want to find a good reference chart to use. So let's... You know what I'd like for you guys to look for me? Is... because we're going to do pushes. We're going to make reference chart for pushes. I would like you to, if somebody could find me a swing level push with, say, a bar level push confirmation, all in the same chart? Perhaps? Maybe. And then we can make a really nice reference chart of that. Because we're going to finish these reference charts and move on a little bit. A lot, I want you guys practicing, right? A lot has to do with practice. I want you guys practicing. I want you guys to see this. I want you to see the shape of this. See, this is a recent NASDAQ. I want you to see the shape of it. I want you to see how price comes back into it. I want you to see if it makes a new low, right? See, this isn't a bad example here. And actually, for a swing level press example, I want to get a relative swing also. So I'm kind of looking for really pretty examples as a reference chart. So what I'm looking for is something that's going to be a nice swing level press that's followed by perhaps a bar level Maybe it's going to have to be a bar level type 3. That happens right here. I don't know, I'm trying to find something to mix and match and make things pretty. Because, see, this is almost going to be it, but it's not, it doesn't qualify. So a lot of times we can use a bar level as a, it'd be pretty, a bar level as a confirmation. So imagine this. So let me see if I can keep clarifying myself here. What I'm looking for is an example. Because it happens. Maybe it's a little more rare, but it happens. So we have a swing level press. Two swings pull back into each other, expand. And then price comes up here, lands in it. Starts to come off. Does a bar level press as a confirmation to the swing level press. That's what I'm thinking for an example. And just trying to hunt this up will be good practice. So when we're done, we'll talk a little bit about how to practice. See, that would be a bar level press as type 1. Type 1 is a confirmation into a swing level press. 2018 Aussie, that's all it did was the push downs. Yeah, right? Push down, push down, push down, push down. All right, so this is a good example. That's not bad. Of just a swing level press. We want practice in recognizing these. I want to come up with a nice reference chart, at least for the type 1. I think that, and I love the ones especially that we trade. So let's go ahead and start this here. And I want everybody else to make their own reference charts in this way. So first we need to recognize it. We'll put the instructions up. And the more we do this, the more we see. tough to find with a bar level confirmation. No, I agree. But I don't know. Let's see what we see. We got some attention on it, Nate. So swing level press. And this is going to be, what were our silly definitions for this? There were instructions for a swing level press, right? 2 confirmed swings. That pull back into each other. Okay. 2 confirmed relative swings that pull back into each other. Reaction leg must be same size. Impulse leg must expand. Did I miss anything? Does that cover it? Close? I could probably say it simpler, but I think that covers it. 2 confirmed relative swings that pull back into each other. There's a better way to say this, guys. How do we do this one? 2 confirmed relative swings that pull back into each other. And the impulse leg must expand. Okay? Something like that. And then we'll draw it. And maybe it's good to say it a little different each time. Everybody sees something different. And then we can put a little note up here. Relative swings definition. Same size reaction leg, okay? That's the definition for relative swings. With an expansion of the last into each other and the impulse leg last impulse leg, thank you, Grace, must expand. And so then we can draw the model. We can draw the model over here of what this should look like. Let's make sure we give some room. Type 1 push trade. Make sure we know what we're doing here. reference chart. I have my own spelling. The keyboard can't keep up with me. All right, so let's look at the little model. So we're going to have two swings that pull back into each other, same size reaction leg with an expansion. I did reference wrong too, huh? Somebody get Edward to give me a spell checker. Think with her. It's a Howard thing. All right. So we go like this, and we go like this, and we go like this, and this is our model. And a type 1, it's type 1 push trade, okay? Type 1 push trade. Make this black. Because you know what? I'm getting obsessed with stupid colors now. I could be here all day just picking the right colors. Thank you, Grace. But we're just going to pick something and go with it. All right, so we have a type 1 push trade, okay? So this, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, so relative swing size definition. And let's just mark this out. Let everybody know that this is a reaction leg. Oh, yeah, for those who don't know, the Howard I keep complaining to is the creator of Ensign software. So in the old days, we used to bug him to put this in, put that in, put this in, put that in. He's been around for a long time. And this will be impulse leg expands. And it helps for you guys to work on these details. I want you to make your own, right? So you can match them as if you had to do it as if you had to teach somebody somewhere, okay? You know? Do it as if you had to teach somebody somewhere. And you want to make it presentable, and you want to put all the definitions down that need to be down. All right, so that's our model. And so we want to see, right, same size reaction leg. Same size reaction leg. Like that. And we want to see ones that make new low, otherwise it's not a push trade. So we want to see ones that make new lows, because it has to be a push. We want it to be a push trade. Okay, it's got to be a push trade. All right, so this is a pretty good example, and one of the things we want to find a place for all this. Getting tired of that blue real quick, huh? One of the things we want to also see is, I love this example because in this example, it's going to show us a same size swing. Okay? It's going to show us a same size major relative swing landing in a swing level press. And so we want to see all these little details. And this chart can be simpler, but this, we want to cover everything that's, instructional. This is nice and easy. That's a swing level press. That's what it's going to look like. And in this example, it's beautiful because we have same size major reaction leg. Maybe this all belongs over here. So let's make a note with this. In this example, price swings back into the press with the same size major reaction leg. So you see we're using reaction legs here. We're using reaction legs here. We're just doing it a little bit different. Okay? We're just doing it a little bit different. So everybody get this example? Shane, do the same principles as swings apply to presses, that they need to make a new high or low for them to be valid? Yeah, because you have to get 2 confirmed swings for the press, Raj. Otherwise, it's not sloped. Does that make sense? Or are you looking for something else? We need to get 2 confirmed swings for the press. And there's cycles, you can put median lines on these guys. See, you can do like that. See, high probability of reaching the median line, that kind of thing. I mean, the retest, Shane, do the same apply to swings, apply to presses, that they need to make a new high or low for them to be valid. What are you asking about valid? So let's just take it piece by piece. That's a major swing. It made a new low. So it's a valid, confirmed major swing. Okay? This press can happen before that swing happens, right, for the type 1. I mean the retest. The retest of the press. I'm missing your eyes. The retest of the press. See, I'm just kind of being cute and showing you that this happens a lot. Okay? So let's look at valid. Let me see if I can figure out what you're trying to get across to me. I'm a little slow, but I'll get there. Same principles as swings apply to presses. All right. Swings do continued. Swings have 3 types of trades relative to them. Swings go through a process. Those are the principles of swings. Swings can be objectively defined. So I'll let you think about that, and we'll look at our model here and see if he's writing something to me. See what we're getting at. And so these are the instructions for this. And that's a type 1 push trade. And have you guys noticed we keep seeing that V behavior because Well, it expands, right? It does this weird expansion out of the press. If you think about this, if price is climbing, it's using a lot of steam. And then if it goes like that, it's using a lot of steam, okay? And so it comes back to reset and think about it and maybe come back to its line. And so this sort of sets a little reset in everybody's emotions here. Once price hits the press and does a type 1, does it need to make a new low for that type 1 to be valid? Yes. Yes. Yes, Rod. Otherwise, it will be a try instead of a type 1. Yes. So when you're doing an example, find ones that make new lows. Otherwise, it's not a type 1 trade. It's a possible type 1 trade. Does that make sense? We get there, don't we, Raj? Thank you. So when I'm saying look for an example of a type 1, it has to make a new low to be your example. Otherwise, it might not be a type 1, right? It might be a try and a type 2 or a type 3 based on that. So in your examples, this is one of those things. You don't know it's a type 1 until it's a type 1. You take the option for it. So anytime you're trading, you're never going to know ahead of time until it's over. It's just like all those patterns people study, the wedgies and the triangles and the head and shoulders. You don't know until it's done. You don't know until it's done. Just like a head and shoulders, everybody, oh my God, we have a head, until the pattern's completed, you don't know it's this or that. I posted one under the pressure channel. Thank you, Nate. I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at that. I see your chart there. That had a bar. Oh, nice. Nice. We'll take a look at that. So what else should I do in here, right? It's getting a little... One thing I want to do for the reference chart is at least talk a little bit about... Maybe I got to keep the instructions all in one place. I didn't make a lot of room here, did I? Didn't make a lot of room. But life is messy, right? We're doing this on the fly. This saves me doing it over and over and over 20 times by myself. All right. So, swing level press instructions. We'll put there. We should say a little bit about what a swing level press is on this chart. And maybe the rest of the reference charts will just take it easy, okay? So let's say a little bit about what a swing level press is on this chart, okay? It isolates organized behavior. That's too much. So let's just say it's slope contraction, okay? In a continued behavior that expands, okay? So it's slope contraction in a Slope contraction that expands. That says it all right there. It's slope contraction that expands. It's got the essence of a gap. It has the essence of a gap. And a gap projects a possible mountain or valley. So this is what a press structure is, okay? This is what a press structure is. And then we can talk a little bit more, as we go in here about what it does. And so it is organizing itself, right? It's a sloped contraction, right? It's a sloped contraction. It's a sloped contraction. Never going to be happy with this one. So Nate's also mentioning he posted one under the pressure channel. If we all post there, we can take all the examples and put into a library later. Yes, I encourage you guys to join Nate, right? And take your examples and post them. Don't worry how they look. Do your best. I encourage you guys because we are going to make a library. I'm going to help structure this whole thing and form it up, and we'll put it on the site eventually. But we're going to make a library of it. Okay? So this is a good idea because they happen in different places and they happen in different circumstances. And the more we do our own research, the more we personally benefit, each one of us, okay, rather than just wait for something to be told. And being told is the start, and then the next part is to get it yourself, because it's got a shape. The shape's got a feel for it, Like Grace said, there's less thinking and more feeling eventually, like riding a bike. You don't think when you're riding a bike. If you do, you're going to crash. You start to put all that in. We're trying to do trading to another level here. This is a very interesting, fun thing, this trading thing, although, it's a lot of bloodiness. But it's fun to expand and learn and increase our capabilities in things. If it was easy, everybody do it. And the money's good, the better we get at it. The money's good, the better we get at it. It's the ultimate job. You get paid for how you do. So we can use this as a start for a reference chart, although it's kind of busy. It's kind of busy. But you know what? At some point, we got to put our foot down and give it something. All right. So boom, I'll post this in Slack. Truth is, you never get it perfect. And then we'll look for a bar level to do the same. Type 3 turn after the bottom of a majors form. There's a press down at the bottom, and then it gets zoomed. What are you talking about, Nate? That chart you posted? Or here? Type 3 turn at the bottom of my chart. Yes, there's a little type 3 turn. Yes, that gets zoomed. I played both. I think I played one up here. I didn't play this one, but I played one on the way down, and then didn't do this one. But you guys see, just in looking at these charts, you know, I'm not just looking for perfect charts. These are charts we're working on every single day. Every single day. And so you see how they work out and what they're doing. And we practice. And it should get messy. It's supposed to get messy. We want to see these things. I want to set things up live. The other thing I want you guys to watch, I'm going to finish this now, is I want to see you guys see something live. Do you guys remember this euro odd that I put so much attention on? Hey, look, a turn, right? Take price from where we did that lesson and follow it. Right? We did so much attention on that. And what this does, it's not just, oh, look, there's a new setup that works. What this does is you begin to know how to stalk something, how to observe something, how to listen to something, how to follow it for more than 5 minutes. You get to see where it eats, where it sleeps. It's got a pattern. This guy's got a pattern. It sleeps a certain time. It eats a certain time. It feeds a certain time. It goes to the bathroom and certain things. And over time, you get to see all those, and when all those change, and now you're stalking the thing, and you see where the bodies are buried. And you get very connected to this thing. And although your one trade might not have worked, or your one trade worked, or your boom, boom, if you stay connected to something like that, you know how it lives. You know how it lives. You can then trade it. So maybe start, because I said, hey, just look at that. And it looked like it was going down, and then it went like this. And then follow it live, and we'll finish that on Friday. All right, we'll finish that on Friday. So I'm going to wrap it up there. We have our reference chart. I'll post it in. Where am I going to post it in? I forgot. I'll post it in session examples. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is making our reference chart for these presses before we move on. So we talked about a lot today. So let's just keep practicing, keep working, rolling around with it, see where it goes, and more insights. A lot of good insights. I tell you what, the biggest one you can get is, you know, where do I want to be? Where am I actually at? When you do that, a certain give up happens, and you start to see things very clearly in your own abilities and such. All right, guys, take care. I will see you guys. Thanks for your participation. I'll see you guys on Friday.